Welcome to the channel NUMIS Treasure Hub, and let me ask you something before we go any further. What if the coin you used to pay for your morning coffee this week was actually worth more than the coffee shop itself? That sounds impossible, doesn't it? It sounds like the kind of thing people say to get your attention and then disappoint you. But today is not that kind of day, because the 2010 Lincoln penny is sitting in pockets, coin jars, and desk drawers all across this country right now. And most of the people holding one have absolutely no idea what they might be sitting on. And by the time this video is done, you're going to know exactly what to look for. Exactly what separates a coin worth 1 cent from a coin worth a collector's fortune. So stay with me because this is the kind of knowledge that actually changes things. The 2010 Lincoln penny, in its most extraordinary error varieties and pristine mint state grades, has reached values at auction of up to $4,500 and beyond for specific certified specimens, which means that a coin the United States Mint produced by the hundreds of millions, a coin so common most people never give it a second glance, can command a price that would make your jaw drop the moment you understand what you are actually looking at. And that is exactly what we are going to break down together right now. Let's start with the year itself, because 2010 was not just another ordinary year in Lincoln cent production. It was actually a historically significant transition year, the second year of a brand new reverse design series that the United States Mint launched in 2009 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday. And the 2010 reverse introduced what collectors call the Union Shield design, which replaced the one-year-only bicentennial reverses and established the modern Lincoln cent we still use today, which means every 2010 penny you hold in your hand is literally the beginning of a new era in American coinage history, and that historical significance alone drives collector interest in a way that transcends simple supply and demand. The Denver Mint, identified by that small d mint mark you will find on the obverse just below the date, produced over 2.8 billion Lincoln cents in 2010, and yes, you read that correctly, billions with a B. So you might be wondering how on earth a coin made in such staggering quantities could ever be worth serious money. And that is the exact question that separates casual observers from serious collectors. Because the answer lies not in how many were made, but in how many survived in exceptional condition and how many came out of the mint carrying errors that the quality control process simply missed. Can you imagine being the quality control inspector who let a double die or a dramatic strike through error slip past? That person unknowingly created something priceless. And that is honestly one of the things I love most about numismatics. The idea that human imperfection on an industrial scale produces accidental treasure. Now let's talk about what you are specifically looking for, because identification is everything in this hobby, and the first variety that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy when it comes to 2010 cents is the double die obverse, where the doubling appears most dramatically in Lincoln's eye, in the date numerals, and in the lettering of I in God we trust along the top of the coin. You want to grab a loupe or a magnifying glass of at least 10 power magnification, hold the coin under a strong light source, and tilt it slowly while examining those areas, because true double die doubling is mechanical and shows as a clear, distinct second image shifted in a consistent direction, not the fuzzy overlap you see from machine doubling, which is essentially worthless. This distinction matters enormously, and the difference in value between a genuine double die and a look-alike is often several $1,000s. So take your time and look carefully. If you are enjoying this deep dive into rare pennies, hit that like button right now and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub so you never miss a video that could literally put money in your pocket. We cover these hidden treasures every single week, and our community of sharp-eyed collectors is growing fast, so join us. Beyond the double die varieties, the 2010 cent is also known among specialists for dramatic strike through errors, where a foreign object, a piece of cloth fiber, a fragment of metal, even a small piece of debris, gets caught between the die and the planchet during the striking process and leaves a raised or recessed impression on the finished coin, and these errors range from subtle to absolutely dramatic, with the most spectacular examples showing recognizable shapes struck into Lincoln's portrait or into the shield design on the reverse. And when these errors are large, clear, and dramatic, they can command prices in the hundreds to low thousands of dollars depending on the severity and the grade of the coin. Here is something that genuinely shocks most people when they first hear it. The grade of a coin, meaning its physical condition as assessed by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can multiply or divide a coin's value by factors that seem almost absurd. And for the 2010 Lincoln cent, a circulated example in average condition might be worth a few cents to maybe $1 or $2, even if it has a minor variety. But that exact same variety in a grade of MS65 red, meaning mint state, with full original red copper color and only minor contact marks, might be worth 50 times more. And in a perfect MS68 or MS69 grade, it could be worth hundreds of times more, because at those extreme grades the coins are essentially perfect specimens of American manufacturing at its finest, and almost none exist, making each one extraordinarily rare despite the massive original mintage. Now picture this for a moment. You are cleaning out your grandfather's desk, and tucked in the back of a drawer is a small manila envelope with a handful of coins he pulled from circulation back in 2010 because he thought they looked particularly bright and sharp. And inside that envelope, protected from contact and preserved in near-perfect condition for over a decade, is a 2010 Lincoln cent in MS67 or MS68 condition. That scenario has played out in real life more than once, and those coins have sold at auction for prices that made the family members who found them genuinely emotional, because it is the most beautiful intersection of personal history and unexpected wealth. And if that is not a reason to go check every old envelope, every childhood piggy bank, and every forgotten coin jar in your house, I honestly do not know what is. Keep watching, because coming up we are going to cover a Lincoln penny with an even more extraordinary story, the kind of coin whose background involves a genuine production mystery that still has experts debating today. The market for high-grade 2010 cents has been on a consistent upward trajectory over the past several years, driven by a broader surge of interest in modern coin eras and varieties that has brought an entirely new generation of collectors into the hobby, collectors who grew up with coins from the 1990s through the 2010s and feel a personal connection to those dates, which drives demand in a way that traditional collectors of older series never anticipated, and auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have documented this trend clearly in their realized price records, showing that top pop certified examples, meaning coins that sit at the very highest grades on the population reports, are selling for more money year over year as collectors compete intensely for the handful of specimens that meet that extraordinary standard. Let me give you the practical identification checklist you need right now, because this is the part of the video that could actually change your financial situation if you have the right coin. First, find all your 2010 pennies and check for the D mint mark, which confirms Denver production. Then examine the date and lettering under magnification for any sign of doubling. Then check the surface of the coin for any foreign objects struck into the metal. Then look at the rim for any weakness, doubling, or unusual characteristics. And finally, assess the overall condition. If the coin has never been circulated and retains its original red copper color with sharp details, you could be holding something genuinely significant, and the next step would be to have it evaluated by a professional numismatist or submitted to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Because certification is what transforms a promising coin into a documented, marketable asset. One thing that never stops amazing me about this hobby is how democratic it is. You do not have to be wealthy to find treasure, you just have to be informed, and that is exactly why this channel exists. And here is the layer that most casual observers completely miss. The 2010 cent was also produced in a small quantity as proof-like specimens through the standard mint set production process, and coins that emerge from those sets in exceptional grades, with particularly sharp strikes and brilliant surfaces, command a premium that separates them further from ordinary circulation examples. And collectors who specialize in modern mint state Lincoln cents pay close attention to strike quality, looking for coins where every detail of Lincoln's portrait is razor sharp, where the wheat stock details of the shield reverse are fully defined with no weakness anywhere, and where the fields, the flat background areas of the coin, are free from the bag marks and contact lines that inevitably accumulate when coins are poured together in bulk mint bags. So if you have a 2010 cent that looks like it just came off the press this morning, please do not spend it, do not clean it, and absolutely do not store it loose with other coins. Get it into a proper coin flip or holder immediately and have it assessed. because you might be holding something that a serious collector would pay significant money to add to a registry set. The story of the 2010 Lincoln cent is ultimately the story of the modern era of American coinage, a period when the mint was navigating new designs, evolving production technology, and massive output demands simultaneously, a combination that historically creates the conditions for errors and varieties to slip through. And the collector community has been rewarded repeatedly for paying attention to these coins that everyone else dismisses as pocket change. So the question is not whether valuable 2010 cents exist. They absolutely do. The question is whether one of them is sitting in your possession right now, unrecognized and unappreciated, waiting for someone with the right knowledge to finally see it for what it truly is. Do not go anywhere, because the next Lincoln penny we are covering has a backstory so dramatic and a collector following so passionate that what you are about to hear will make the 2010 story look like just the warm-up act. Next, the 1990 Lincoln penny. And before you tell me you have seen 1,000 of these, and they are worth nothing, I need you to stop right there, because the specific 1990 Lincoln cent variety we are about to discuss is one that even experienced collectors initially dismissed. And that collective dismissal is precisely why the people who recognized it early quietly built fortunes, while everyone else spent theirs at the grocery store. The 1990 Lincoln penny carries a secret that was hiding in plain sight for years, a production anomaly that the United States Mint itself never intended to create. And when it was finally recognized and confirmed by the numismatic community, it triggered a collecting frenzy that sent prices soaring in a way nobody predicted. And certified examples of the key variety have sold at auction for prices reaching into the tens of thousands of dollars. Yes, tens of thousands, for a penny. And if that does not make you want to go find every 1990 cent you can get your hands on, then let me give you the full story, because context makes this even more remarkable. The year 1990 was a fascinating moment in United States mint history. The country was at the end of a decade of significant change. Mint production was running at full capacity across multiple facilities, and the Philadelphia Mint in particular was churning out billions of Lincoln cents to meet circulation demand. But here is where things get interesting, because 1990 is the year that produced one of the most celebrated modern proof coin errors in American numismatics, the 1990 NUMIS Lincoln cent proof, which is a coin struck at the San Francisco Mint for collector proof sets, but missing the S mint mark that should have been present on every single proof coin produced at that facility, meaning a small number of these coins went out to collectors in official United States Mint proof sets without the identifying mint mark, making them instantly recognizable errors the moment someone looked closely enough to notice the absence. Now, the 1990 NUMIS proof Lincoln cent is not a coin you are going to find in your pocket change. It was only distributed in proof sets, and approximately 200 examples are estimated to exist based on population reports at major grading services, which makes this one of the rarest modern United States coins in existence. And when you combine extreme rarity with the prestige of being a proof coin, which means it was struck multiple times on specially prepared planchets to produce mirror-like fields and frosted design elements, you have a recipe for exceptional auction results, with the finest known specimens selling for prices that have reached into the range of $20,000 to $30,000 at major auction houses, with top pop cameo-proof examples commanding even more from serious collectors competing for the absolute best. Can you imagine opening a 1990 proof set that you purchased directly from the United States Mint back in 1990, looking at the Lincoln cent, and suddenly realizing that the S mint mark is simply not there? That moment of recognition, that split second where your brain registers that something is wrong, or rather that something is wonderfully, valuably wrong, is exactly the kind of discovery story that gets passed around at coin shows and auction previews as legend, and several collectors have lived that exact experience, and their lives were genuinely changed by it. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now, because the next coin in today's video has a story even more extraordinary than this one, and you are going to want to see what is coming. Beyond the famous NUMIS proof error, the 1990 Lincoln cent landscape also includes Philadelphia Mint business strike coins. Those are the regular circulation cents without any mint mark, because Philadelphia has historically not used AP mint mark on cents, and within that production run, collectors have documented double die varieties, die cap errors, and off-center strikes that add significant value to what would otherwise be common coins, and the key to understanding why even small errors on 1990 cents carry premium prices lies in the grading standards that modern collectors apply, because a 1990 cent in MS68 red, that elite grade representing a virtually perfect coin with original copper color, is genuinely rare regardless of mint mark, with population reports at PCGS and NGC showing only a handful of coins at that grade level, making each certified example a trophy piece for a registry set collector who will pay handsomely to secure it. Here is something that genuinely reshapes how most people think about modern coin collecting. The coins most likely to produce shocking values are not always the ones from the 1800s or even the early 1900s, because those coins are well documented, heavily hunted, and most significant examples have already been found and are in established collections. But modern coins from the 1980s and 1990s are in a fascinating middle ground where they were made in enormous quantities, mostly spent and circulated without a second thought. But the tiny percentage that were preserved in exceptional condition are now genuinely rare as certified coins, and that rarity is only going to increase as time passes and the pool of high-grade survivors shrinks further through handling, cleaning, and attrition. The proof coin production process in 1990 is worth understanding in detail because it helps explain how the NUMIS error happened in the first place. San Francisco Mint proof coins are made using specially prepared dies that have been polished to a mirror finish, and the planchets are individually handled and loaded into the press rather than bulk fed, and each coin is struck at least twice to ensure complete detail transfer, and the resulting coins are then individually inspected before packaging, which makes the fact that 200 NUMIS examples slipped through quality control all the more remarkable, because these coins went through more individual human attention than virtually any other United States coin in production, and yet the mint mark omission was missed, which tells you something profound about how even the most rigorous systems can produce extraordinary errors when operating at scale under production pressure. Now let me walk you through exactly how to identify a 1990 NUMIS Lincoln cent proof if you happen to have one. First, you need to be looking at a proof coin, meaning the surfaces should be mirror-like on the fields with a frosted, cameo-like appearance on Lincoln's portrait and the lettering and reverse design elements, and the coin should have been stored in a proof set rather than circulated. So if your coin shows wear or handling marks, it is not a proof coin. Second, you look at the obverse, below the date where the mint mark should appear, and on a NUMIS coin that space will be clean and empty, with no mint mark present whatsoever. And if you see that combination, proof quality surfaces, 1990 date, no mint mark, you potentially have one of approximately 200 known examples of one of the most sought-after modern United States coin errors in existence. And the appropriate next step is immediate submission to PCGS or NGC for authentication, because the value of these coins is well established and professional certification is essential before any sale or insurance valuation. And here is the twist that makes this story even richer. The 1990 NUMIS cent was not the first time the San Francisco Mint produced a NUMIS proof Lincoln cent, because collectors who have been in the hobby for decades will immediately recognize that the 1990 example follows a precedent set by the 1983 and 1982 NUMIS proof cents, creating a fascinating pattern of quality control failures at the same facility across multiple years that numismatic researchers have studied at length. And while each date commands different prices based on its individual rarity and condition, the family of NUMIS proof Lincoln cents represents one of the most compelling error series in modern American numismatics, attracting both seasoned specialists and newer collectors who recognize the investment potential of genuinely documented scarcity. Stick around, because the final coin we are covering today is the most valuable of the three, and the story behind it involves a level of historical drama and collector passion that you absolutely cannot miss. What is coming next is the grand finale. The market trajectory for 1990 Lincoln cents, particularly the NUMIS proof variety, has been consistently upward, driven by a combination of the coin's documented rarity, its status as a modern United States error coin with a clear and verifiable story, and the broader trend of collectors diversifying from older series into well-documented modern issues that offer clear investment upside. And auction results at heritage auctions over the past decade show a pattern of steady appreciation with Particularly strong results for cameo and deep cameo-proof examples in grades of PR 68 and above, where the contrast between the mirror fields and the frosted design elements is at its most dramatic and visually stunning. These are coins that look like jewelry as much as they look like currency, and serious collectors respond to that visual impact with serious money. I want to leave you with one thought about the 1990 Lincoln cent that I think captures everything beautiful and exciting about rare coin collecting. Somewhere out there, possibly in a storage unit, possibly in an estate that has not been examined, possibly in a mint set that a family member put away in 1990 and never opened again. There are 1,990 proof sets containing no S Lincoln cents that have never been identified, never been certified, and are waiting for someone with the right knowledge to recognize what they have, and that person could be you, or someone you know, or someone you share this video with today, and that possibility, that genuine, documented, real-world possibility, is exactly what makes this hobby endlessly exciting and endlessly rewarding. Next, the 1973D Lincoln penny, and I have saved this one for last deliberately. Because of the three coins we are covering today, this is the one with the deepest historical roots, the most dramatic production context, and the most passionate collector following. And when you understand the full story of why a 1973D Lincoln cent can command extraordinary prices among specialists, you are going to look at this coin with completely different eyes, and you may never look at any penny the same way again. Picture a coin roll hunter, someone who orders boxes of pennies from the bank and goes through every single one methodically, systematically, with the patience of a person who genuinely believes treasure is hiding in plain sight. And imagine that person, on an ordinary Tuesday evening, pulling a 1973D cent from a roll and holding it under their loupe, and suddenly seeing something that makes their hand begin to shake. Because the doubling on the date is not subtle, it is dramatic, it is unmistakable. And in that moment they know, with absolute certainty, that they are holding something that other collectors would pay thousands of dollars to own. And that feeling, that electrifying, life-altering moment of recognition, is exactly what the 1973D Lincoln cent's most significant varieties can produce. And documented auction sales have confirmed prices reaching into the several $1,000 range for the finest certified examples of the key era varieties, making this penny one of the most rewarding targets in the entire Lincoln cent series for collectors who know what they are looking for. The year 1973 sits at one of the most fascinating crossroads in American monetary history. The country had just fully abandoned the gold standard 2 years earlier. Inflation was climbing, and there was serious public discussion about eliminating the penny entirely as its production cost approached and then exceeded its face value. And against this backdrop of economic uncertainty, the Denver Mint was producing Lincoln cents in enormous quantities, with a mintage of over 3.5 billion 1973D cents entering circulation. And it is within that massive production run that errors and varieties occurred at a rate that created collecting opportunities that specialists are still discovering and documenting today, more than 50 years after these coins were struck. Now, the specific variety that drives the most collector excitement for 1973D Lincoln cents is the double die obverse. And to understand why this error is so visually compelling, you need to understand how it happens. A double die is created during the hubbing process, when the working die receives multiple impressions from the master hub, and those impressions are slightly misaligned. So the die itself carries the doubling before it ever strikes a single coin, meaning every coin struck by that die carries the same consistent, mechanical doubling in exactly the same location and direction, which distinguishes it immediately from the worthless machine doubling that results from die chatter during the striking process. And on the 1973D double die obverse, the doubling is most pronounced in the date, in Lincoln's eye, and in the motto "I in God we trust," with the best examples showing separation of the doubled elements that is visible to the naked eye without any magnification at all. And that naked eye visibility is considered the gold standard for double die collecting because it means the coin announces itself as an error the moment you look at it. Drop a like on this video if you have already checked your coin jar twice while watching this, and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub so you are always first to know when we uncover the next hidden fortune. We are building the most knowledgeable coin community on YouTube, and your subscription makes you part of it. Beyond double dies, the 1973D cent is also documented with repunched mint mark varieties, where the D mint mark was punched into the die by hand, as was standard practice at the Denver Mint in 1973, before automated mint mark placement was introduced, and the punch was applied slightly offset from its initial position, creating a visible secondary D mint mark image that overlaps with the primary in a characteristic pattern that variety specialists have cataloged in detail in resources like the Cherry Picker's Guide to Rare Die Varieties, which is essentially the Bible for this kind of collecting, and a strong, well-defined repunched mint mark on a 1973 D cent in high grade can add very meaningful value compared to a normal example of the same date. Here is the historical context that I think makes the 1973 D Lincoln cent even more fascinating than its error varieties alone. The Lincoln cent design in 1973 was already 64 years old, having debuted in 1909 as the first regularly circulating United States coin to feature a real person rather than an allegorical figure. And Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln had endured through an extraordinary span of American history by 1973, from the First World War through the Great Depression, through the Second World War, through Korea, through Vietnam, and the social upheaval of the late 1960s. And every Lincoln cent struck in 1973 carries that extraordinary legacy in its design, which is part of why Lincoln cent collectors feel such a passionate personal connection to every date and variety in the series. They are not just collecting coins. They are collecting chapters of American history rendered in copper. Can you imagine having a grandfather who worked at the Denver Mint in 1973, who brought home a few rolls of the freshly struck cents as a memento, who put them in a shoe box in the closet and forgot about them for 5 decades, and who now, through you, is about to learn that those coins might be worth more than the car sitting in his driveway? That scenario is not hypothetical. It has happened. Variations of it happen every year as estates are settled and old collections are examined for the first time in generations, and each time it does, it reminds everyone in the numismatic community why knowledge is the most valuable tool a collector can possess. The grading dynamics for 1973 D Lincoln cents follow the same pattern we discussed for the earlier coins, but with even more dramatic impact, because 1973 D cents in MS67 red are among the rarest certified examples of any Lincoln Memorial cent from that era. Population reports show that very few coins have been certified at that grade level with full original red color, making each one a genuinely significant rarity despite the original mintage in the billions. And when you combine that high grade rarity with a documented variety like a double die or repunched mint mark, you have a combination that serious registry set collectors will pursue with extraordinary intensity and corresponding financial commitment. Let me give you the complete identification protocol for evaluating a 1973 D Lincoln cent, because this is the actionable information that transforms a viewer into a finder. Step 1 is to confirm the D mint mark below the date on the obverse. Step 2 is to examine the date and the motto under 10 power or better magnification, looking for clear, consistent doubling that shows as a separated second image rather than a smeared or blurred appearance. Step 3 is to look closely at the D mint mark itself for any sign of a secondary mint mark impression at a slightly different position. Step 4 is to evaluate the overall condition of the coin. Original red copper color with no cleaning, no environmental damage, and sharp details across the entire design. And Step 5, if the coin passes these initial checks, is to take it to a professional numismatist or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading, because these are the services that transform your promising find into a certified, insured, marketable asset with a documented value that the market will recognize. And now I want to tell you about the broader investment case for quality 1973 D Lincoln cents, because it goes beyond the individual varieties to encompass the entire trajectory of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series as a collecting category. Numismatic analysts who track the modern coin market have noted consistently that top pop Lincoln Memorial cents from the 1960s through the 1970s have appreciated steadily over the past 2 decades as the generation that grew up with these coins in their pockets reaches its peak collecting years with disposable income to invest in completing high-grade sets, and the competition for MS67 and MS68 red examples of key dates from this period has become intense enough that auction specialists at Heritage and Stack's Bowers regularly note the strong bidding from multiple serious collectors on the same coin, which is the market dynamic that drives record prices. Because when two or more determined collectors both want the same specific coin, the result is always a number that surprises everyone watching. This is why I love this hobby with everything I have, because it democratizes discovery in the most beautiful way. It rewards knowledge over wealth, attention over indifference, and curiosity over assumption. The 1973 Lincoln penny is the perfect embodiment of everything that makes rare coin collecting endlessly exciting. It is a coin from living memory, a coin that was spent on candy bars and bus rides and grocery store transactions by millions of Americans who never suspected they might be holding something remarkable. And yet within that massive population of ordinary coins, there are documented varieties and exceptional survivors that stand apart as genuine treasures, confirmed by professional grading services, documented by auction records, and sought by passionate collectors who will pay real, significant money to add them to their collections. So here is what I want you to do right now. Go find every 1973 set, every 1990 proof set, and every 2010 penny you can locate. Examine them with the knowledge you have gained from this video. And if anything looks promising, get it professionally evaluated before you do anything else with it. And then come back and tell us in the comments what you found. Because this community thrives on discovery stories, and we want to hear yours. And if you have not already subscribed to NUMIS Treasure Hub, do it right now, because every single week we are uncovering the hidden stories and hidden values in coins that most people walk past every single day. And one of those stories could be about a coin that is sitting in your collection right now, unrecognized, undervalued, and waiting for you to finally see it for what it truly is. Share this video with every coin collector and every curious person you know, because the knowledge in this video is genuinely the kind that can change a financial situation. Hit that like button to help us reach more people who need this information. Leave a comment below with your own coin discoveries or questions, and we read every single one. And stay tuned to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because the coins we are covering next are going to raise the stakes even higher. This community is just getting started. The treasures are real, and the next great find could absolutely be yours.